Today we will be making 4 servings of saucy beef stir-fry noodles. The first step is to prepare our meat. Here I have 500 grams of rump steak, or you could use any other cut of lean beef. With a sharp knife, thinly slice the beef against the grain. I am going to cut as thin as I can because I find it turns out more tender, but you can cut it as thin or as thick as you like. Once all the beef has been sliced, add it to a bowl and marinate it with 1 tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of white sugar, half a teaspoon of bicarb or baking soda, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and 1 tablespoon of Saucy cooking wine. Mix this together, being quite rough. Initially, there will be quite a lot of liquid. We want to mix this until most of the liquid has been absorbed and the meat is no longer watery, which took me about a minute or so. Once complete, put this in the fridge until it is ready for use. Next, let's prepare our noodles. You can really use any type of dried or fresh noodles for this dish, although thicker egg or wheat noodles are generally used. I am using these fresh egg noodles, which are a little thinner than what is typically used, but this is the best I could find at the supermarket today. We want about 500 grams of any fresh noodles or an equivalent amount of dried noodles. Whatever you use, just prepare them according to the package instructions. In my case, I soaked them in boiling water for around 2 to 3 minutes to soften. Then I strained them and spread them out on a tray. We want the noodles to be cool and dry before stir frying, so spreading them out on a tray helps to speed up this process. Set the noodles aside until they are ready for cooking. Next, let's prepare our vegetables. First, I used 2 leaves of a green cabbage. Cut them in half and remove the thicker inner stem. Then stack the 2 halves on top of each other and roll it up tightly. Then thinly slice the roll to get long and thin cabbage strips. We want the cabbage to be a similar shape to the noodles, so try and get the slices quite thin. Repeat the same process for the other half and add it all to a bowl. Next, let's cut up a carrot. Slice the carrot on an angle into thin ovals, keeping the slices in the same order they are cut. Then pat down and spread the pieces into a line with each piece overlapping each other. Now slice along the line into thin matchsticks. Try to keep the strips as thin as possible so that they are shaped similar to the cabbage and noodles. Then add the carrots to the same bowl as the cabbage. And now let's cut our spring onion. You can also substitute this with a regular brown onion, but I think the spring onion provides a better color and a slightly different flavor. Separate the white and green parts of the spring onion as we will cut them slightly differently. For the whites, slice them on a steep angle as thin as possible. And for the greens, slice them in the same way but not quite as thin, since they are more delicate and will wilt down faster if they are cut thinner. Add all the onion to a separate bowl and set aside. We will also need some garlic for this dish too. I have 4 cloves of garlic which just need to be roughly chopped. I find the easiest way to do this is to smash each clove with the side of my knife, then roughly chop it. Once all the cloves have been smashed and chopped, run your knife through a few more times to get it a little finer. It doesn't have to be too fine for this dish, just a rough chop will do. Add the garlic to a bowl and set aside. And the last thing to prepare is our sauce. To a bowl, add 1 tablespoon of corn flour or cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of white sugar, 1 teaspoon of chicken stock powder, half a teaspoon of white pepper, a pinch of 5-spice powder, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of Saucy cooking wine, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 teaspoon of dark soy sauce, and half a cup of water. Or you could use chicken stock instead of water, but if you do, don't add the chicken stock powder. Mix it all to combine and our sauce is done. Set it aside until ready for cooking. Now that everything is prepared, we can start cooking. Like most other stir-fry dishes, this comes together very quickly, so we want to have everything ready. Here I have my wok set up with all my ingredients right next to it for easy access. When you are set up, we can start by heating a carbon steel wok on maximum heat until it starts smoking. Then add half a tablespoon of any neutral flavored high heat cooking oil and swirl it to coat the surface. Add the cabbage and carrot to the wok and stir fry for about 1 to 2 minutes or so. We aren't trying to fully soften the vegetables, we just want to get a little char on them. Since home stoves aren't as powerful as a professional wok burner, the best way to do this is to let the vegetables sit for 20 to 30 seconds, then mix them and let them sit for another 20 to 30 seconds. And repeat this a few times until you get some char marks here and there. Once done, remove from the wok and back into the same bowl. Now we are basically going to repeat the same process for the noodles. Let the wok heat up again until smoking hot and add half a tablespoon of oil. Add the noodles and stir fry in the same way for another 1 to 2 minutes, or until you get a few char marks here and there. Remove from the wok and back onto the same tray. If at any point you find that there is some food sticking to the wok, it is a good idea to clean it to avoid it burning. Here you can see a little residue from the noodles. To clean this, simply add a little water and scrub it with a sponge, and any stuck on food should easily come off. Tip the water out and dry it with a towel, and the wok should be nice and clean. With the wok clean, heat it up again until smoking hot and add a final tablespoon of oil. Then add the marinated beef and spread it out in a single layer. Let it sit for about a minute without moving it so that it can sear. Once you get some nice colour on the beef, mix it around and let it sit for another minute or so. Once you have gotten some good browning and the beef is mostly cooked through, add the garlic. Stir fry for about 30 to 60 seconds or until the garlic becomes fragrant. Then add the sauce. Make sure to mix the sauce before adding it, as the corn flour will have set at the bottom. Let the sauce bubble and thicken up for about 30 seconds. At this stage you can decide to add more water if you want more sauce. Either leave it as it is or add another 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water depending on how saucy you want your noodles. I added another 1/4 cup. Mix it through and let it start to bubble again to thicken up. At this stage, all we need to do is add everything back to the wok and mix it all together. So add the noodles, the cabbage and carrot, and the spring onion. Mix everything together until well combined. The best way I find to do this is by using a large spatula to scoop and flip the noodles, and to use some chopsticks to lift and separate them. However you decide to do it, try not to break the noodles apart. It might take a few minutes to get everything well combined. Once it is mixed, turn the heat off and add 1 teaspoon of sesame oil before stirring it through one final time. And with that, our lo mein is done. Evenly distribute the noodles between 4 containers. The ones I am using are 1 litre containers for reference. Let it cool to room temperature for a while before adding the lids and storing them in the fridge for up to 1 week. To serve, all we need to do is heat it in the microwave and our meal is ready. Each serving ended up being 634 calories with 47 grams of protein, 73 grams of carbohydrate, and 16 grams of fat.